Hi, I'm Cynthia Schiller. Please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Today we're talking about what's going to happen if you decide to stay with a narcissist in your relationship. Sometimes we're caught up in families where there's a narcissistic parent, we can't escape it. But I'm going to talk about more romantic to where you do have the option to leave. Because if you stay with the narcissist, you're going to crave that love bombing stage, and it's just never going to get back to that. That was a period of time where the narcissist went above and beyond to capture you. He used his techniques to suck you in and trauma bond you. Trauma bonding is very strong, very hard to get over, very hard to understand. But it's years of the emotional abuse that you go through, and it's so subtle because they are master manipulators that sometimes you don't even see it coming, but the damage is done. So there's that one book. I don't know if I think it's Shel Silverstein, The Giving Tree, and that's kind of if you stay with a narcissist, what your life is going to turn out like. And in that book, it was that they gave everything. I believe it's been years, but I believe it was a little boy who kept asking and asking and taking and never gave back. So um, you'll never get replenished on what you give. And at the end of the book, there was nothing left for that person to give, and they were useless. Like, they have nothing to give. Why bother with them? And that's what's kind of happening in your relationship now is you just want some replenishment, just a little bit so you can keep going. And you try and try and try, and you might get micro nutrients where there's just enough to barely have you hanging on, and they'll do that so they can take and take and take. But you're never going to become whole again unless you leave, because they're always going to be takers. And the more that they take, the less that you become. And it's really sad because often you are such an amazing person to where you give above and beyond that it should at least be replenished with a thank you or like a true appreciation, not just an empty, like thanks, but to where, oh, that was awesome, you helped me, it's my turn, I'll help you. There's no common ground. It's always a taker and a giver. It's not sometimes you take, sometimes you give, and it's just soul draining. The narcissist is empty inside, and they need to fill that emptiness. So they surround themselves with tons of people. They'll go to great lengths, whether it's cheating or not caring that you guys had plans if something's going to feed that supply more, where he might get more adoration going to some big party instead of respecting you and just doing a little family trip to mom's. They don't care how you feel, they don't care how the rest of the family feels. um, every now and then they'll do things because they need to maintain an image, because image is very important to them, but it's superficial, it's temporary, it'll go in cycles. You'll never know which end is up. You'll be very confused on your conversations, on why you can't just ask a direct question. They'll always twist things to where you're always going to be emotionally unstable. Sometimes you just want them to come up to you, um, talk to you, have a deep conversation like, how are you feeling? Or, I'm sorry that happened. How does that make you feel? They might go, oh, that probably sucks. But they don't have that deep emotional bond with you. It might seem like it at first. They know how to play the games. They've learned from watching others on how they interact. They know how to act, but they don't know how to feel. All they know is what they feel inside. They don't empathize, and it's really hard to understand how somebody can't empathize. Like, everybody in the world goes through some traumatic events: loss of a job, loss of a parent, a grandparent, end of a relationship, that you would think that you learn from that, but they don't learn from it. They just don't want to feel it. They don't want to acknowledge it. They don't want to deal with it because that takes time. And what's so ironic is how quickly, quickly they can go into another relationship. It's almost like a switch just turns off. They don't cry, they don't reflect on what their previous relationship was. It's just too much of a hassle. Why feel anything when I can just feel good with a new supply? So they go to that new supply, and the cycle goes all over again. And you're going to end up alone, most likely. And you're probably going to be longing for them. The more you long for them, the longer the healing is going to take. So just understand it. It's like that Giving Tree book, honestly. I went through that, felt terribly lonely, empty. Even when you're in the relationship, it's a very lonely friend or relationship. You have the person in your house, they're living with you, you do things together, but it's like a loneliness. Like you have your happy times because it seems real, or the activity that you're doing is exciting. So you had a great day because the activity was good. The person you loved was there. But think about the connection during that time. Did they go off? Were they interacting with you to a full extent, or was it superficial? So just remember that Giving Tree. Is it worth it? I know there's times you long for your ex and you want to try everything possible. The more you try, the less they're going to try. And you just got to, if you want to stay in that relationship, it's almost like you got to devalue yourself to where my needs aren't going to get met. And I just accept that just to be with someone. I mean, think about that. Like, I can go without really having a soulmate who can really relate to me. I can go without my needs mattering or me being a priority every now and then, because we seem to go above and beyond. And it's mainly because we were trauma bonded, because that love bombing was so perfect. Like we did it before, why can't we do it again? And they tell you that they love you. So, of course, if you love me, we can easily work this out. But those are empty words to the narcissist. And the cycle will continue. Often it gets worse because they feel that sense of entitlement. They can't relate to what you're feeling. So the more you try to describe what you're feeling, describe solutions, they don't take it to heart. Often going to therapy doesn't help a narcissist. They can fool the therapist. So the therapist doesn't even really know how to prescribe an, a regimen to get out of the cycle, because the therapist has been bamboozled where they're prescribing something that is not going to take care of the problem because the problem's not revealed. And narcissists will never take the blame. They're really good at their wording. So even going to therapy often does not work. So it's something to think about. Please comment below. Let me know your thoughts on that. Have you ever had a narcissistic relationship that turned itself around? Because it's statistically almost never going to happen. And it's really sad that if they just felt a little empathy, you probably could have had the most beautiful relationship. But without empathy, there isn't any understanding. There isn't a true connection. And being in love is such a strong connection. It's not just being around somebody. So please comment below. Be sure to subscribe, and I will see you soon.